Broadcasting live across the southern plains from the Tornado Bunker in the McRoof World Headquarters, the McRoof Radio Network brings you home repair McRoof style. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCullum.
Good morning, sir.
Squeaking in under the wire. Retro Radio Randy is the wizard on the other side of the curtain.
How you doing, South Plains?
He will answer your call to 405-656-5868. Act one of the show, we'll start with our trivia question and the tool of the week, which is posted on the Home Repair McRoof Style Facebook page. Hey, go check it out and like us while you're there. That way you'll
like us.
You'll like us, yeah. And as always, we're taking your home repair questions. That number again, 405-656-5868. McRoof.us staff meteorologist Dion Markham will have Southern Plains weather this week. Eh, Dion?
Yes, sir.
All right. In Act 2 of the show, we'll have our What Were They Thinking segment. Scott, what is Myrtle up to this week?
Oh, I don't know. Everything but the kitchen sink, Myrtle.
All right. And then in Act 3, we'll have our After the Storm tip and wrap up with some very wise words from Scott's dad. If I remember this week, I foolishly just blanked on it last week, and we didn't get those wise words. Coming back from breaks, though, we'll have some very obscure historical trivia. I'd like you to know that the McRoof Radio Network includes KOKC in Oklahoma City and KALV in Alva. You can also hear us on the iHeartRadio app by going to iHeartRadio app and searching for KOKC. And we're live streaming the show on the Home Repair McRoof Style YouTube channel. You go there and see what riveting radio really looks like, and you can subscribe, and that way you'll always know when we're on the air at 11:06 on Saturday morning. Wherever you are, you can call us during the show at 405-656-5868. And I need to also let you know that S&CM LLC is doing business as McRoof.us, legally operating under registration, Oklahoma registration number 80000002. And that registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
Hey, Mr. Rick.
Yes, sir.
I've got a treat for everybody today. Now, I want them to really be on pins and needles.
Okay.
I swear that Dion's report is going to be more than one word this time around. Okay?
Yes.
Dion, did you hear that?
Yes.
Dion, it's radio. You have to verbally. You can't just nod your head.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. All righty.
All right. So let's get to, we have a special guest in studio today for the entire hour, Michael Hannum, the Daylight Doctor. Ooh.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you, Michael. Michael and I are gonna talk about the topic that has been on everyone's mind most recently.
Oh, really? The Big 12 Media Day?
Yeah. I think that's exactly right.
Something like that.
Okay, so the trivia question. Let's get started with that, shall we?
All right, here we go. The 2018 International Residential Code and the Uniform Building Code both require a 1 to 300 ventilation ratio. What is considered best practices ratio for ventilation?
Okay.
Code requires 1 to 300 square feet. What is considered best practices?
Boy, this will be a tough one to Google. You have to really kind of know what you're looking for.
Oh, and the answer that you wrote down, Rick, is absolutely wrong. So I'll let you know what the right answer is when
I'm sorry.
when we get it.
All right. Sometimes that handwriting is just a little difficult to decipher. All right. So the 2018 International Residential Code and then the Uniform Building Code, both from 2018, require a 1 to 300 ventilation ratio. but we want to know what is considered best practices ratio for ventilation.
There you go.
If you think you know that answer, give us a call, 405-656-5868. And the tool of the week that Scott, you suggested, and I have put this on the Facebook page. It's also on our McRoof Radio Network website, is the ThermoPro TP50 digital hydrometer, indoor thermometer, room thermometer, and humidity gauge with temperature humidity monitor. That's a lot of words for a $10 item.
It is. Now, are you getting a theme here? The trivia question was about ventilation.
Ventilation, yeah.
Now we have a tool of the week. We have Michael sitting in here today who deals with a whole lot of ventilation solutions for folks. So the tool of the week, I chose that because we have had tons of phone calls here over the last month about my attic is so hot. My garage is so hot. My house, well, how hot is it? And, no one knows. So here's your little $8 to $10 tool. That what I want you to do is I want you to take this. I want you to put it in the space that you're concerned with. Okay. And I want you at the same time of day, every day, whatever's convenient for you, probably as you're coming home in the afternoon, seems like it might be a good time. Check the temperature on that thermometer, write down the temperature, write down the humidity situation, and the date. Do this for about a week. That way when you call us, you'll be able to give us some really good information that we can try to lead you through some things. We've had people who called this week that said, my gosh, my attic's 120 degrees. Well, quite honestly, it's 105 to 110 outside, so you're doing really, my suggestion would be you may have a very well ventilated attic. Okay.
If it's only 120.
Now, if she doesn't have a thermometer up there, how does she know her attic's 120, maybe 140? Okay.
Exactly.
So let's find out what it is we're dealing with, and this is a very simple, inexpensive way to do it.
And just for you folks who may be out in your cars and can't access the Facebook page right away to see what this thing looks like, if you are familiar with a digital clock, a little flat screen digital clock, those atomic clocks that you don't have to ever worry about setting, it looks kind of like one of those. It looks like it ought to be telling you what time it is, and those things that tell you how hot it is inside your house and what day of the week and all of that, the date. It's a device that's very similar looking to that. It just has a different range of information that it's giving you.
Yeah. Now, what I would tell people is I would not suggest that you just lay this on the floor in your attic or down low in your garage. I would suggest that you get it up high.
Okay.
Now, why are we saying that?
Because heat rises.
Okay. So in your attic, you're going to have some vertical structures. Okay, rafters, you're going to have some bracing, something up there in your attic. Get it up as high as you can conveniently get it without risking life and limb.
Okay.
And the same way in the garage, get it up as high. Maybe you can put it up above a door jamb or something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Someplace where you've got it up a little bit higher so we can see what's going on. So, okay.
And I happened to notice, now this was $10 on Amazon. It was on sale by a couple of bucks. But I also noticed that next to it was a Bluetooth version of the same thing, so that it would send this information to your phone.
But that wasn't a $10 device.
No, it was twice as much. It was a $20 device. But still, for those folks who didn't want to have to climb up into their attic on a every hot afternoon.
Sure, absolutely.
That would be well worth another $10.
There you go. Probably the energy savings that you would have in your home from not opening the attic stair and letting all that hot air come into your air-conditioned space, that would probably pay for the upgrade. So,
all right. Well, I see they're getting ready on the other side of the curtain for the Southern Plains weather this week.
This is McRoof staff meteorologist Dion Markham bringing you Southern Plains weather this week. Outrageously hot temperatures continue for the beginning of the week. And then a cold front will bring rain for the end of the week. Have a great
Hoorah!
week, Southern Plains, and stay safe.
All
right,
See,
thank
there, I
you.
promise you that
Thank
Dion
you.
would actually have something other than hot to say today.
Yeah,
Hey, you know,
thank you,
Dion,
Dion.
I looked at,
He can't hear you.
he cannot hear me?
Okay, oh, he can, yeah, he can.
I looked at a 14-day forecast, or maybe I looked at the next month forecast for Oklahoma City, and there was actually a day in there sometime in early August that the day before was about 110 or 105 or something, and then this particular day was going to be drizzle and 78 degrees.
Wow.
Well, I can't remember what that day is, but I'm going to go mark it in my
Sure,
calendar as a
yeah.
vacation day.
No kidding.
Okay?
No kidding.
Anyway,
No kidding.
Dion
Okay.
might be able to go find us that date before we get off the air.
Oh, maybe.
All right.
Maybe. He's looking for it right now. All right. Say, Michael, we're going to spend the rest of the hour talking to you, so I don't want you to think that we're
Oh,
ignoring
no,
you.
we're not ignoring Michael.
But we only have a couple of minutes left before we have to take a break. So, Scott, let me find out what's been your week this past week.
Well, had another trip to Wichita. Had some adjuster appointments and contract signings and things like that. So, as far as our roofing operations have been greatly curtailed, as
Right.
you can imagine.
Sure.
We're trying to. As much as we can, we're trying to keep the guys safe and keep them cool. They're putting some pressure on me. Ricardo walked in this morning. He says, "Mr. Scott, all my guys want to go to Minnesota. You're not giving us enough work." Well, I understand, but when we start and get on the roofs, and then by the middle of the afternoon, shortly after lunch, we've got to get off. It's almost not worth it. I mean,
Right.
a house that we normally would do in a day is taking 2 days at least.
Right.
The days that would take 2 or 3 days are taking a whole week.
Right.
We're really working now because they need to work, and because we do have a few folks who really want to get their job done.
Right.
From a practical standpoint, my druthers would be not to be doing that. So we've still got, on the Roof RX side of things, a lot of repairs. They did a lot of metal roof work this week, where they got on the metal roofs early in the morning, got as much stuff done, and then got off the roofs before it was 180 degrees up there. So
My goodness, yeah.
that kind of, Michael can tell you about that. Michael's had a few things where, with the Daylight Doctor, where he's been out doing an install that was scheduled as a 1 day or a multi-hour install, and he just couldn't button it up. I
Sure.
mean, he was starting to deal with a little bit of heat exhaustion and things like that, and shuts her down.
Yeah.
So that's what we got to do.
Hey, our trivia question is still hanging out
It
there.
is.
The 2018 International Residential Code and the Uniform Business Code.
Building
Code. Both require a 1 to 300 ventilation ratio. But what is considered best practices for ventilation ratio?
And let me give you a little hint, folks. Building codes are minimum requirements.
Okay?
Building codes are minimum requirements. So best practices is obviously going to provide more ventilation than the minimum requirement. That's all the tips you're getting from me right now.
How about if I give one too?
Okay.
Because we're talking about a ratio, a fraction, more or less, that 1 to 300 best practice should probably not, it should be on one side of 300 or the other. I'm giving away too much.
It will be less than 300.
Yes.
We'll just go ahead and tell you that right now. The
Okay.
number will be less than 300.
Okay? All right. And with that, we will take our first break, and we'll be back with Act 2 on the other side with Home Repair McRoof Style on the McRoof Radio Network. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's Restoration Specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCullum. We are taking your call, 405 656-5868 on anything home repair related. We'll be back in a flash. This is the McRoof Radio Network.
Folks, we're talking today about all kinds of things that affect the comfort and the convenience, the usability of your home. We've got Michael in here to talk about Solatube solutions for ventilation and daylighting. I want to talk to you a little bit about a good friend of mine, Brad, at Brad's Heating and Air Conditioning, who's been serving the greater metro for almost 40 years. He's got something else that's going to help you to improve the livability of your home. Brad installs April Air Central Air Cleaners as part of your home's central HVAC system. If you're tired of seeing the dust around your house minutes after you've cleaned, you've got pet dander, you've got pollen that's killing your allergies, if these are issues that you deal with, give Brad a call and talk to him about the April Air system. You'll have a healthier home environment, the pet dander will be gone, you'll have less smoke, less pollen, less mold, dust mites. In other words, you'll breathe easier. Call Brad. Brad's Heat and Air at 405-799-7823. That's 799-7823. Or visit them online at bradsheatandair.com. Tell them McRoof sent you.
You guys going to talk about the Daylight Doctor now?
Oh, we are? Well, Michael's going to talk about the Daylight Doctor. So, folks, you know, the Daylight Doctor is something that Roof RX is really, really proud of. Michael's been out there solving problems for folks and taking care of their issues. Michael, what are most of the things that you've been doing?
Oh man, that's a good question. Mostly what I've been doing is a lot of ventilation, a lot of people calling regarding heat in their attic. It's just too hot in there, and they're having a lot of condensation issues as well from moisture buildup.
Okay, so ventilation, and we use a product. We've got product that are two different sizes. What are those called?
Yes, sir. We have a Solar Star, which comes in two variations of sizes. It comes in a 1500 1500 fan, which is properly to ventilate. One fan should properly ventilate about 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home, and then a 2,400 fan, which will actually ventilate anything above 2,000 attic zone square footage.
Okay, so now we're talking about solar attic fans.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Solar attic
So because
fans.
we're talking about solar attic fans, you know, you're going to quote folks the price when you go out to have a consultation with them, and you're also going to quote them a potential energy tax savings, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually, so every purchase with a Solar Star, you get a 26% federal tax credit. So because the unit is solar powered, you get a tax credit. It's the same credit you get as if you put solar panels all over your roof.
Cool. So in addition to the solar, we've also got other ventilation products that you're looking at as well. So you've got your garage fans, your whole house fans, your IMs. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have a couple other ventilation options as far as, like Scott just said, we have our garage fans, we have our IM fans, which is an internally mounted fan. For those customers that have gable vents on either sides of their home, we use an IM fan to create a cross ventilation across to help keep your attic cooler. The garage fan is another great form of ventilation for your garage when you have your cars in your garage and you pull in and it gets super hot in there, or you use your garage as a home gym, or you like to entertain in your garage. The garage fan's a great option to help alleviate some of that heat. We do have a new product release, which is the new garage fan. It is a ductless garage fan, so it makes it a little bit easier as far as installation, and it's actually thermostatically controlled.
So basically, folks, what we're saying is you need to call the Daylight Doctor, and you need to solve any of your ventilation issues. We've got the products to do it brought to us from Solatube International. So give us a call and let us see what we can do for you.
Homer Stacy was a wholesome, good American kid from Texas. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the United States Army and was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas. Homer was fascinated with aircraft, so he went to flight school and became an Army Air Corps pilot. Homer Stacy was the pilot of a Convair B-24 Liberator, the Yankee Doodle Dandy. November 11, 1943, Homer and his crew, along with 31 other bombers, flew a mission to destroy a ball bearing plant in occupied France. On the return trip, a mechanical failure caused the plane to drop out of formation, leaving the Yankee Doodle Dandy vulnerable, and shortly thereafter, 7 German Me-109 shot the plane down near Andano, Italy. 4 crew members were killed on board. The others parachuted. 1 was captured and taken prisoner. Homer was among the remaining 5 who made it to Switzerland and returned to duty. Homer Stacy survived World War II, the Korean War, and retired after 21 years of service with numerous awards and citations, not to mention the Purple Heart. Homer Stacy. Homer Stacy McCullum, Scott McCullum's dad. Scott McCullum is McRoof. McRoof is owned and operated by the McCullum family, an honorable, trustworthy red, white, and blue family. If you want to improve or repair your property, call 855-766-3405. Ask for a no-cost roof assessment and home inspection. That's McRoof, 855-766-3405. That's McRoof.
And Home Repair McRoof Style back on the air for Act 2 of today's show. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's Restoration Specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCullum. We have Michael Hannum, the Daylight Doctor, in the studio with us today. Retro Radio Randy on the other side of the glass answering your calls to 405-656-5868. And you know, you can catch us on the iHeartRadio app through KOKC or our live stream on our YouTube channel. And all of our shows are archived on the McRoof Radio Network website. Our trivia question still hanging out there. The 2018 International Residential Code and the Uniform Building Code both require a 1 to 300 ventilation ratio. What is considered the best practices ratio for ventilation? And we know it's going to be a number smaller than 300. I know we have a caller on the line. Ben, you're there. Hang on, though, because I have a little bit of trivia I got to get through. On this date in 1829, William Austin Burt patented America's first typographer. We call it a typewriter. Patented on this date in 1829. Quite a few years later, and on this date in 1872, African-American inventor Elijah McCoy was granted a patent for lubricators for steam engines. And then here's one we'll all rejoice in. On this date in 1904, the ice cream cone was created at the St. Louis World's Fair. The first cone reportedly made by Charles E. Menches. Okay, so now let's finally get Ben on the air. Hello, Ben.
Good morning, gentlemen. I missed your program last Saturday. I was at a church workshop, so
Yeah, well,
missed out
here
on
you,
that one, and I'll miss next Saturday because I'll be down at my daughter's.
okay.
But I'm here today.
All right, so you want to take a shot at the trivia question.
Yes, I do.
All
I
right,
don't
so-
remember the exact ratio, but I do remember from a program, one of your programs, I think it might have been last year, summertime coming, or earlier this year. But the best practices is the exhaust capability should be equal to or greater than the intake capability. Maybe 1 to 100 square feet. I can't remember.
Oh, no, sorry.
Well, I tell you what, Ben is so close. You know, he's got the principal,
Right.
Bernucci, okay?
Yeah.
Bernoulli, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So he's got the principal that we're talking about, which we're looking for is greater than or equal to intake to exhaust, okay?
All right.
You cannot have too much intake, but you can have so much exhaust that you overwhelm your intake,
Okay.
So greater than or equal to intake to exhaust.
I got it backwards.
And Ben, I can't believe it, but you actually got the number a little too low now. So we're zeroing in on it, okay? We're zero.
Well, I got the ratio backwards, but it's faulty memory. Oh, like my little finger.
you had
I
it all.
attribute it to how far along in my orbit that I am.
You had it all in there somewhere. It was
Just didn't have it in the right order, did I?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So anyway,
Hey, Ben, you had a question as well.
I'm trying to locate a video camera, inspection camera with a small enough diameter cable and head to check my kitchen sink drain. I got a feeling I may have a problem where it connects to the main. The main, everything's draining properly except the kitchen sink. And it's not a clog. It's actually drains slowly after it backs up. So this house was built in '59. I got a terrible feeling about what might be going on. I think my drain may have gone haywire from the inside out. But,
so you've probably tried all the rental stores in Oklahoma City?
I've tried the big box stores. I haven't
have?
tried Crossman's or
Yeah, I
anybody
think
like that. They have them, but they're for the mains. They're big heads.
Yeah,
they won't go to a 2 1/4 inch diameter.
Yeah, so
drain line.
I think if you tried somebody, over there by you, Crossland or somebody like some of the little stores that have a lot of things that Home Depot would not have. Okay,
Yeah.
I would try that first, and then next to that,
There needs to be a long enough cable because I think I've got to go about at least 10 to 15 feet of line for grade and goosenecks and all that stuff.
Yeah, but
because
that shouldn't be a problem because
my
the
sewer
cables.
line is pretty low because of the way the ground slopes. Where it comes out from under the house is about 2.5, 3 feet above my living room surface or house surface.
If you find somebody that's got the scope that's small enough to do what you want to do, the cable's not going to be a problem. So anyway, that's the only thing
I
I
just
could.
need enough length to be able to go all the way down to check, but
Right.
I don't want to have to call a plumber till I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and if you can't find the scope, you're going to have to do that anyway, Ben. So
Yeah.
Hey, Ben, what's the
Yeah,
diameter?
I was just hoping for
that's an inch and a half drain,
information.
Inch and a half?
inch and a half or 2 inch drain. So
Yeah.
it's probably an inch and a half drain, isn't it, Ben?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Let me look under my sink. I think the actual drain where it goes down into the slab. Let me turn on my light in here.
It's all right, Ben. It's okay. We need to actually keep moving on. I do know that they make.
That's about 2.5 inch, 2 inch diameter.
I know they make them that small because I have seen them that small.
Yeah, because you've seen the plumber using them at your
Well,
house.
no, actually, I saw Jim Gentile
Oh, okay,
use one
okay, yeah.
when he scoped my chimney. When we
Oh,
had
okay,
a chimneyoscopy when we had raccoons
Oh
in the
yeah,
chimney.
I remember that. Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was like about a 1 inch diameter, if it was even that big.
Wow.
And so I know they make them.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you get them.
All right,
Okay,
man.
well, I was hoping to maybe pick your brain, but
Nothing to pick on my end, buddy. I'm sorry.
well, thanks for the time as always,
You
guys.
bet.
I
Have
very
a great
much
week,
appreciate
Ben.
it.
Enjoy your daughters.
too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Betcha.
Thank you, Ben. So
Yeah,
guys,
so Ben's guess was 1 in 100. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we know, folks, the answer lies somewhere between 1 in 300 and 1 in 100. So
Okay.
we're closing in.
All right.
Okay.
So if you think you want to give a shot at the magic number, give us a call, 405-656-5868. Michael, I keep saying we're going to get to you here in a minute, but right now we need to tell scary stories. This is the segment of the show every week that we tell a horror story. The segment that we call The title of this week's scary story, Everything But the Kitchen Sink. Myrtle?
Okay, so we're going to get Michael involved in this.
Okay,
this
good.
This is a horror story that then we'll be able to segue into Michael.
Okay.
This is about ventilation. And this is a house that I roofed about, a year and a half or so ago. And literally, this house had turbine vents. It had what we call turtle vents. It had power vents.
Oh, my.
Okay? So it had 3 different types of exhaust ventilation in a common attic.
Okay.
Okay? So what I'm telling Myrtle is, Myrtle, the concept with ventilation is not more is better, and that's unfortunately a practice that's adopted by a whole lot of roofing contractors, where, you've got 2 turtles and you've got 2 turbines. We'll add 2 power vents, or we'll add some ridge vents, because more has to be better. That is not the case. I think that every ventilation product in the box has a disclaimer on it. Michael, what does it say?
Well, I actually didn't get a chance to take a look at that. I was doing some other things in my office before
Okay. Well, basically it says, do not mix different types of ventilation in a common attic space.
Well, I was going to say,
Okay.
that doesn't sound like a good...
Because they work against each other, they create cross ventilation. They actually, if you have, for instance, say you had good intake ventilation and you had ridge vent at the top. Okay, that's ideal. That's what you want. Well, go in there and put a turbine on that roof somewhere in there.
Right.
That turbine disrupts the airflow, and it actually pushes warm and moist air back over into areas of your attic where you don't want it, keeps it from exhausting out of the roof.
Right.
So in Myrtle's case, she had every kind of ventilation product in the world on her roof, but she had no ventilation.
Right.
Okay?
Because everything's canceling out.
Everything's canceling out. Another thing that we run into, and now we'll step out of that, and because Michael and I wanted to talk about the things that we see in ventilation almost every day.
Okay.
The common problems and issues. So Michael, what's the biggest problem that you see day in and day out?
The biggest problem that I see is not having enough exhaust ventilation. I've seen customers' homes that have really large size homes, and they have 2 or 3 passive ventilation 750s on the roof, and they have more than enough adequate air intake.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to jump in
Yeah.
and ask the question for the idiots out there,
Yes,
and
sir.
myself included. What's a 750?
So 750 is the slant back looking square box passive vent that you see on roofs.
Turtle vents.
Yeah, or a turtle vent.
Turtle vent. Okay. All right. All right.
But that's probably the most common is under ventilation on the actual roof itself. One of the next biggest problems that we see is not a lot of customers have enough intake ventilation. So that's where your soffit vents come into play, making sure they're the right sizes and they're adequately spaced out in different locations around your home to help ventilate your roof.
So the 2 things Michael just said, one is not enough exhaust ventilation, okay? And then the other is not enough intake ventilation. So in other words, we do calculations, okay, based on these formulas that we're looking for the answer to.
Right.
Okay? And the calculations are going to tell us what we need to have in terms of exhaust ventilation, okay? Square inches of exhaust ventilation required, square inches of intake ventilation required. Okay, that's what we're looking for.
Right.
So what I see not enough exhaust ventilation, or I see exhaust ventilation that is improperly placed.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
Or mixed as
So,
well.
for instance, with your solar stars, your solar your solar vents that we're putting on, those are supposed to be located within what distance of the ridge?
Usually typical installation, I'd want to space it down from the ridge line about a foot down, just so when we do our fan cuts upon our installation, we're not messing with the ridge shingles or anything like that, and we won't cause anything to leak.
Okay.
All right.
But basically, that ventilation needs to be installed within 2 feet of the ridge of a house.
Right.
And you'll see ventilation that's all over. It's not on the same it's not on the same
Oh, yeah.
plane, that kind of thing. So that creates
I have
issues.
some questions I want to
Okay.
get into after the break.
Okay, go right ahead.
Because this is a fascinating
Man,
topic
Michael,
to
they
me.
keep breaking us.
I know.
I'd like to remind everybody you're listening to Home Repair McRoof Style on the McRoof Radio Network. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's restoration specialist. And Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCullum. The Daylight Doctor, Michael Hannum, is in the studio with us today. We're taking your calls to 405-656-5868. We're still looking for that magic number on the trivia question. This is the McRoof Radio Network.
Folks, I'm going to start out by giving you the phone number for the Daylight Doctor, 405-977-5483, 977-5483. You need to give Carly a call and get on Michael's list for an in-home consultation, whether you're talking about ventilation, daylighting, any of the issues that you've got around your house. Solatube International and the Daylight Doctor have got solutions for you. So, Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've been talking about these 1,500 and 2,400 fans. Approximately, what do those fans cost installed?
So approximately the fans cost anywhere from about $850 with installation all the way up to about $1,150 with installation.
And what are the factors that affect that?
The factors that affect that cost are obviously the number of fans that you would need based off the size of your home and attic square footage. Also, the steepness of your roof also affects an installation cost as well.
Okay.
But mostly it's the layout of your home that really decides how many fans you need and the layout and everything else.
Okay, very good. So we've talked about ventilation. Let's talk about our garage fans. So what does our garage fan installed typically run? Just give me a price.
A garage fan typically installed is about $1,650 with installation, and there's no wiring required.
Is that
for
our
it.
new version or is that the old version?
That's the newest version that we
Okay.
have.
All right. Very cool.
That's
Very
the one
cool.
I would recommend to customers.
Okay.
is-
You talked about the IMs. You talked about where we can create this ventilation flow from one end of a gable to another. What does an IM fan cost?
An IM fan is about $1,400 to $1,550 with installation.
Okay, all right. So, folks, he's kind of giving you some rough parameters of what you would expect for cost on some of these ventilation products. We've also got the Solatube tubular skylights.
That's right.
Typical install on a Solatube would probably be in the $1,200 range. It could be
On
less than
average.
that.
Yeah, it could be.
But on average, about $1,200. We've got skylight replacements. What do our skylight replacements run typically, Michael? Those are a little more expensive depending on size. But what's a 3x3 skylight replacement cost? Couple $1,000?
I'd say a 3x3 skylight. So obviously, if I'm just going to be replacing the glass without
Right.
having to do any reflashing or extra work on the roof, you're looking at probably about $1,200 to $1,300 just to
Okay.
replace the glass.
Okay.
Reflashing's a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, folks, any of the issues or problems you're having around your house as far as ventilation or daylighting goes, give us a call at the Daylight Doctor, 405-977-5483. Carly will set you up, and the doctor will take care of you.
Honoring America's Warriors is an Oklahoma City-based nonprofit that provides military honors and ceremonies, service dogs for disabled veterans, and multiple activities and events for the veteran and their family. When Honoring America's Warriors was established, our first sponsor and supporter was McRoof. Now, years later, McRoof and the McCullum family continue to provide financial support to Honoring America's Warriors' important programs. To learn more about our mission, go to honoringamericaswarriors.org. Go to honoringamericaswarriors.org today.
Hey, Scott, I have folks tell me all the time that they can't find anybody out there to inspect their roof or to just fix a leak. You started Roof RX to remedy that issue, didn't you?
Well, I did. Roofers are in the business to replace roofs. They're not in the business to inspect, repair, or maintain them.
So what's so different about Roof RX then?
Well, Roof RX is a standalone company totally separate from McRoof. The inspectors are trained professionals armed with knowledge and technology. They are not roofing salespeople.
Our repairs are guaranteed for life, and we offer a money-back guarantee.
Wow, that sounds great, but I'll bet you're booked up for months out.
No, sir, we're generally no more than a week or so out, and of course we get on emergencies a whole lot faster than that. Get on our list by calling Carly at 405-877-ROOF or online at roof-rx.com.
I'm Scotty McCollum, and I am McRoof. The qualities that every McRoof team member possesses are attention to detail, integrity, and a commitment to be an expert in our field. The goal of every McRoof project is to restore a home or business to the fullest extent, and in the process, we try to create a relationship as well as lasting peace of mind. We're not happy if you're not happy.
Replacement done right. McRoof.us, 855-766-3405. And Home Repair McRoof Style, back on the air for Act 3 of today's show. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. We're live in studio with restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCullum. The Daylight Doctor, Michael Hannum, is also in studio with us. We're taking your calls to 405-656-5868. Our trivia question still hanging out there. The 2018 International Residential Code and the Uniform Building Code both require a ventilation ratio of 1 to 300. But what is considered the best practice ventilation ratio? We know it's not 300, 1 to 300. We also know it's not 1 to 100. So if you think you know what that magic number is, 405-656-5868.
I need somebody.
On this date in 1965, the Beatles' single of Help was released in the United Kingdom. Ah, the Beatles. I got them in there today. There was actually another Beatles trivia, but I chose to change it to Old Blue Eyes.
Strangers in the night, exchanging glances, wandering in the night.
Strangers in the Night hit number 1 on the U.S. charts on this date in 1966. It went on to win the Grammy for Record of the Year and Best Male Vocalist.
There you go.
All right.
There you
All right,
go.
so we're talking ventilation.
Yeah.
Scott and Daylight Dr. Michael Hannum are talking ventilation, and you've talked about the various types of exhaust vents, and I have noticed, this is one of the things I've been wanting to actually bring up for weeks. I've seen some residential neighborhoods where everything looks the same, all the roofs are all the same, and there'll be a row of 4, maybe 6 of these turtle vents across the back.
Pretty common.
And these are homes with large, long ridges
Right.
that look like they would be ideal for ridge vent.
That probably so.
And
Yeah.
yet I see 4 turtle vents.
I tell you what, it's amazing to me, and this is why we do the calculations and we do the math. If I were to take a roof like you're talking about and say I could install 60 linear feet of ridge vent, 15 4-foot pieces of ridge vent on that ridge.
Okay.
To create the same amount of ventilation with turtle vents like you're looking at,
Right.
box vents.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
It would probably require 12 or 14 box vents
Oh,
to
my
create
goodness.
that. I can make somebody's roof look like Swiss cheese if they really want me to. To me, it just seems like the principle about roofing would be the fewer penetrations in a roof, the least possible problems
Hey,
the
I'm
less
hip,
possible.
man.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's-
to me, it is just, it's idiotic.
All right,
But-
so let me just play devil's advocate.
Yep.
Do they not teach this stuff in contractor school?
Well, number one, there is no contractor school.
I knew that.
Okay. Number two, a very, very small percentage of contractors take the approach that they're going to educate them about product innovation, new technologies like the SBS shingles we talk about all
Right,
the time,
yeah.
all of the steel products and everything else that we talk about, and ventilation. And the attitude, I sit there, you can go to the supply house, you can go to ABC Supply or Southern Shingles or Crossroads or anywhere. You can sit there in the morning at 7 o'clock and watch the trucks roll out of the yard and look at the turbines,
Right.
the wind turbines, the
Right.
old whirlybirds.
Whirlybird, yeah.
Okay, going out of the yard to be installed on replacement roofs. And we know scientifically proven fact that a wind turbine moves less air and is more problematic in a very short period of time because it has moving parts
Right.
than any other kind of ventilation we put on a roof, yet the idiots are still installing them on roofs every single day.
What about the architects who are designing these homes? Don't they have any
I
say
do
at all in
not-
that?
No, what you would typically see from an architect would be a note in all the notation pages, the note pages, detail sheets. There would be a note that compliance with applicable code. Okay,
Right.
and that is where the rubber meets the road. Is that in replacement roofing, there's no one checking that stuff.
Right.
Okay, if you don't
Right.
have a contractor, and I've actually said to people before, you should demand that your contractor show you his calculations for the ventilation on your home.
Good idea.
If he can't show you the calculations for the ventilation on your home, then he didn't do them.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And there are apps, we talk about it, Michael, we got Certainty's got an app, AirVent's got an app, everybody's got an app for ventilation, Lamenco, Attic Breeze, all the major players in the ventilation space have an app.
Right.
Okay, so there's no reason for somebody not to be able to sit there and literally do the calculations in front of you and prove to you that what they're telling you is actually a solution.
But they've always used whirlybirds. They've always used those turbines.
That's the answer. Well, that's the same answer of, well, we've always nailed 3-tab shingles.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
with a 60-mile-an-hour wind warranty.
Yeah.
Okay, that we know we can replace in a couple of years because it's going to get blown off.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Those attitudes are the things that we've tried to educate people to avoid. Okay, you're looking for a professional. You're looking for someone who is credentialed. You look for someone who is educated, someone who provides warranties and stands behind their product. That's what you want from a contractor. Okay.
Hey,
So-
Michael, I thought I heard you say earlier, and I just want to double check on this. This garage vent that you're talking about and some of the other attic vents, solar powered?
So yeah, the garage fan actually isn't solar powered.
Okay.
It just requires a 110 outlet, no hard wiring into anything or at all. The IM 1500 does qualify for a solar tax credit as well as the solar attic fans as
Now,
well.
years ago, I had a sailboat out at Lake Hefner, and it generated a lot of humidity inside, and so I put a little round solar vent up on the bow, and it did wonders. I carried
Sure.
a couple of C cells, rechargeable
Yeah.
C cells in it, and it just hummed along all the time and kept the inside of the boat nice and dry. That same principle just expanded is what you're talking about for a home.
Yeah, basically, in Oklahoma, we do deal with a lot of moisture in the summertime, and having attic ventilation definitely helps draw out some of that moisture to ultimately extend the life of your roof. You'll see having less moisture in your attic prevents blistering and delamination, and those sort of things, normal problems that roofers see every day.
The thing that I think there's a little misunderstanding about what proper ventilation is and does.
Okay.
And Michael and I were talking this morning, proper ventilation provides temperature and moisture moderation. Okay. It's not going to eliminate an increased temperature. It's not going to eliminate 100% of the moisture. It's going to allow ways for that to be drawn out of your attic space. It's going to be ways to take the heat out of your garage space, things like that. But it's not an air conditioning system.
Right.
Okay? It's not an air conditioning system. And we have people that'll call that'll say, hey, my attic is, 20 degrees hotter than my house is. okay, or 20 degrees hotter than it is outside.
Right.
Okay, well, that's normal.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if you're expecting for your attic to be at a very modest temperature relative to outside air temperature. Now there are technologies that will allow that. A lot of new construction, the spray foam insulation.
I was just
where
going
the
to-
entire roof deck is foamed, where
Right.
everything is foamed and closed in, okay? You can walk into a house with a spray foam insulation roof deck, okay? You can walk from the air-conditioned space into the attic right now when it's 105 or 10 degrees outside, and that attic is going to be at about maybe 78, 80, 82 degrees.
My
okay?
son-in-law is going to do that on a house that has a walk-through from an upstairs closet
Right.
over into the space over the garage.
Right.
And that space is really hot.
You know, we've got some folks, we were dealing with some folks who have inherited a home from California here this last week, and they're very, very conscious about, because they're from, or they're from Oregon, okay?
Oregon.
So they're from the West Coast. Well,
Right.
the West Coast, there's a lot more attention paid to reflectivity, emissivity, all of the ventilation requirements, all of those kinds of things. So they're intelligent people. They want a roof that they never have to deal with again, but they want us to do everything that we can possibly do in the process of that to give them, quote unquote, the coolest, most efficient space that we can give them. So we're going to do things like Energy Q radiant barrier.
Right.
We'll do Solar Star vents. Michael's going to do, they've got a shop with gable louvers. Michael do an IM fan there, do some things like that, and do a steel roof, do a metal roof.
Okay.
And,
All right.
you know, so anyway, but that's something that we deal with all the time, is just kind of a misconception about what a properly ventilated attic is. Okay.
What we heard at the top of the show with staff meteorologist Dion Markham,
Yeah.
telling about rains coming later this week. We should be so lucky as to hear that sound when those rains come in.
Hey, I heard that sound a couple of nights ago.
I
was
did
like,
too.
Where did that come from? About 4 o'clock in the morning? or
Nothing
5 o'clock
fell
in
on
the-
my house, but I did hear it. Anyway, so after the storm, or in this case, before the storm, what tips do you have for Roof RX?
Well, you know, we're at that place, as we've said, we're between storm seasons. We'll transition here, but we're between storm seasons, so now's the time to really make sure that you've got that roof inspection done. You know what your baseline is. Had dinner the other night with a realtor and talked to her at length about the idea that as soon as you're getting ready to list a property, one of the first things that should be done would be having us come out to honestly evaluate the situation as respects the roof. It just protects everybody on down the line. It helps the seller out, and it ultimately will help the buyers out as well. So that's part of it, but the inspect, repair, and maintain, we're getting some momentum now in terms of that maintenance world. Seems like we've got a lot of people who have been listening. We've got a lot of people that we've been talking to about Roof RX, and are signing more and more people for maintenance contracts where we're doing twice a year maintenance for them.
Oh, good.
And where we'll do, you know, whenever we get a storm, we'll let them know how and what to do as far as their insurance company goes. So.
Okay, so I don't forget it this week like I did last week. How about Dad's wisdom?
All right, man, this is a good one.
We're ready for
So
it.
my daddy said, everything in life, son, that involves more than one human being is gonna be screwed up. The more human beings involved, the more screwed up it's gonna be.
Boy, I tell you, I have
You what?
I have experienced that many times. In the
I
warehouse.
have people tell me all the time, your daddy was a really smart guy.
Yeah, he was. All right, Michael, the Daylight Doctor, thank you for sitting in this week.
Hey, Rick, thanks for having me. I appreciate
Give
it.
them that phone number one more time, Daylight Doctor.
Be quick.
Hurry.
Where was it? I'm so sorry. So anyway, if you guys have any daylight and air ventilation
No,
questions.
we're out of time.
Oh,
Thank you.
we're
See
out
you
of
next
time.
week.
Sorry. Oh, okay.